Thank you to everyone for attending tonight's meeting of the San Bruno Community Foundation Board of Directors. We are in person at the San Bruno Recreation and Aquatic Center, and we welcome members of the public who are attending via Zoom. We appreciate your patience if we have any technical hiccups. We ask speakers to speak loudly and clearly so that the microphones can pick you up, and our online guests can also hear you as well, and everyone in the room. A couple of technical items before we get into the content of tonight's meeting. Please know that we want to hear from you. Members of the public who are here at the Recreation and Aquatic Center in person, if you would like to speak during public comment for items within the jurisdiction of the board that are not on the agenda or any of the agendized items, please fill out one of the speaker cards that is on the table near the door. If you are attending via Zoom and you would like to address the board during public comment for items not on the agenda or on any of the agendized items, please use the raise your hand button at the bottom of the Zoom screen. Once you raise your hand, the executive director will see that someone wants to talk and she will let you know that you are waiting. When it's your turn to speak, the executive director will call your name and unmute you. If you are joining us by telephone, you may also address the board during public comment by pressing *9. The executive director will address you and unmute you. Speakers will be given 3 minutes to address the board. Please note that the individuals may only speak once per agendized item. Leslie, have there been any emails from the public?
No, we didn't receive any.
Great. Okay, I will now call the special meeting of the San Bruno Community Foundation Board of Directors of September 3rd, 2025 to order. Next Tuesday, September 9th, marks the 15th anniversary of the devastating gas pipeline explosion in the Crestmore neighborhood that destroyed 38 homes, damaged 70 others, killed 8 people and injured 66 more. This event also led to the creation of this foundation, a fact that we on the board try to always keep at the forefront of our minds while fulfilling our charge. As then Mayor and now Foundation Vice President Jim Ruane has said countless times since 2010, something good has to come out of the tragedy of September 9, 2010. And this foundation and all of its good work, including the building of this fantastic recreation and aquatic center in which we sit tonight, is part of the good that has come from this explosion. To mark this anniversary, I'd like to dedicate this meeting to all those affected by the explosion and fire 15 years ago. Thank you. We have a very full agenda, so let's go ahead and get started. Roll to item number 2. I will give it to Secretary Gomez to please call roll.
Thank you very much. Board Member Belinda Wong.
Present.
Board Member Supriya Perry.
Present.
Board Member Jessica Inglima.
Here.
Treasurer Pac Lynn.
Here.
Secretary Raul Gomez is here. Vice President Jim Ruane is excused. President Melissa Natane Jones.
Here.
All here.
Thank you, Secretary Gomez. Item number 3, public comment. Would any members of the public like to address the board on a topic that is within the jurisdiction of the board but is not on the agenda? For those on Zoom, please indicate so by using the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen.
No, we answered very responsive.
Okay. Last minute. Item number 4, presentation. Recognition of San Bruno Fire Chief Ari DeLay for his service to the San Bruno community and his support of the San Bruno Community Foundation. Tonight, we welcome San Bruno Fire Chief Ari DeLay, who is retiring from the city in October. This is a bittersweet for us, and we are excited about the opportunity to fund a new Fire Station 52, a project that Chief DeLay has been championing for years. Chief DeLay began his career as a firefighter more than 3 decades ago, working with the La Honda Fire Brigade, the U.S. Forest Service, the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, and Coastside Fire Protection District. Chief DeLay joined the San Bruno Fire Department as chief in February of 2020, just in time to support the city through the pandemic. And for the past 5 years, has championed the adoption of innovative technology and best practices to improve firefighting safety. Chief DeLay has been an innovative and community-minded leader for San Bruno and a committed partner with the foundation who will be truly missed. I have had a wonderful relationship with you, Chief, and I'm so sad to see you go, but I'm so happy for whatever that next chapter might look like for you. I'm honored on behalf of the board to recognize you, Ari, with a proclamation from San Bruno Community Foundation. Proclamation reads as follows. Whereas, following service of the La Honda Fire Brigade, the U.S. Forest Service, the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, and the Coastside Fire Protection District, Ari DeLay has appointed Chief of San Bruno Fire Department and has served the city of San Bruno with honor, integrity, and distinction since 2020. Whereas Chief DeLay has fostered a community-minded ethos within the San Bruno Fire Department, building partnerships throughout the community and successfully leading the department through the challenging COVID-19 pandemic. Whereas Chief DeLay has enhanced training and education programs to improve firefighter safety, strengthen collaboration with countywide public safety partners, and develop critical wildfire prevention and mitigation programs in the Crestmore Canyon and throughout San Bruno. Whereas Chief DeLay has been an invaluable community partner for the San Bruno Community Foundation, including his involvement in the city's acquisition of the mobile command vehicle that can be deployed at the scene of a critical incident, natural disaster, or planned large-scale event, funded as part of the foundation's first responder effectiveness initiative, and his planning vision for a new fire station 52 to ensure that the San Bruno Fire Department is properly prepared to respond to fires or other emergencies in San Bruno and the broader region. Whereas the foundation has also been proud to provide a community grant to support the Fireline pandemic program through the purchase of life-saving tools and equipment to outfit 2 Fireline paramedic kits and the implementation of training for San Bruno Fire Department personnel. And whereas Chief DeLay's countless contributions to the city of San Bruno, the foundation and its efforts to benefit the San Bruno community will not be forgotten. Now, therefore, on behalf of the San Bruno Community Foundation's Board of Directors, I, Melissa Netane Jones, officially recognize Fire Chief Ari DeLay and express our sincere appreciation for his dedication to the foundation and the San Bruno community, and wish him and his family the best in all future endeavors. Dated this 3rd day of September, 2025. Before I turn the floor over to you, Chief, I'd like to ask any members of the public if they would like to make a comment. Or would any board members like to say a few words?
Sure. Chief DeLay, first I want to say thank you for the service that you provide. And from the quick conversation we just had, I mean, I could see the passion that you have in serving the community and just your genuine heart. And I just want to congratulate you on this new chapter in your life. Can't wait to hear what other amazing things you do in your extra 4 other jobs that you want to add to your life. But really, thank you for your leadership, I can see that with the fire department here that you've meant a lot to the city and definitely to us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for all you and your department has done for the city. I've had the privilege of being at a training event at the Parkside School where your team showed up to help train them on CPR. So it was amazing. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. I don't even know what to say to President Jones. That was quite a mouthful. I started this career in the fire service, not ever thinking I wanted to be a firefighter. My good friend, I went to Burlingame High School. I grew up in La Honda, in the community where I still live on the same ranch that I grew up on. And I went to Burlingame High School. My sister went through an interdistrict transfer. I ended up in Burlingame, and my best friend was his dad was a captain here in San Bruno, and he was a firefighter. a volunteer firefighter back when we had a volunteer program. And firefighting was not ever even on my radar. I wanted to be a doctor or a chemist or something like that. And he encouraged me to become a volunteer in the community where I lived. And I was instantly hooked. I went to one training exercise and that was it. And it sparked a career, from the time I was 17 years old till today. Ironically, I used to hang out at the firehouse here in San Bruno when I was 16 and 17 years old at the firehouse. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think I would end up being here as San Bruno's fire chief. And it's been an absolute privilege and an honor. I feel very fortunate in my life. I've been able to serve a lot of communities that have a lot of personal pride. San Bruno is one of those communities that has a ton of personal pride. Anyways, I'm not an emotional guy, but I get emotional about this because I care about the community I serve here. And some of the relationships that were developed over the last few years of me being here have been really pretty special. And along my path, my journey, I talked about, I worked out in Half Moon Bay for the Coastside Fire District for about 24 years there. A very small community too, very tight knit. Really strange set of circumstances during the pipeline explosion. I ended up out here on the fire within the first about 45 minutes and worked with the San Bruno firefighters. A few of them I knew from our previous work together. And we worked, I found one of the deceased victims in the community. We worked to stop the northeast part of the fire. And ironically, I was a battalion chief working for the Coastside Fire Protection District. I was working with San Bruno firefighters. And the volunteer fire department that I still serve into today was there with their water tender, helping the community because we had no water in the community because the water line had been blown out of the street with the pipeline explosion. So it was this weird culmination of all these things that kind of came together. And I end up here, for San Bruno, get to serve as your fire chief. And it's been an incredible honor, So Melissa, you said thank you for your support of the foundation. I feel it's the other way around. The foundation support for the fire department has been very incredible. Working with Leslie and the foundation and all the board members throughout the years, we have done COVID testing for the community and the employees that was supported by the foundation. We've done this line paramedic program, which actually our firefighters are out on some fires right now, performing that duty with that equipment that we purchased through the foundation. And then, the ultimate culmination of the fire station project is just ties all this together. My work as a volunteer firefighter, my work, here in San Bruno and all of it, it's really kind of a unique thing. It's something very special. I don't think that just happens every day. And it's just a weird set of circumstances that came together for success. So I just want to thank you for your support from the foundation and all the work that you do every day. The fruits of your labor from the foundation, from the pipeline explosion and what came out of that tragedy, this building here, all the community support that's happened over the years, it's been pretty incredible and really a sight to see. And it's something that, really this entire community is proud of. And the fire station will be just, kind of a bow on top of that entire project, And I was telling Melissa is, you can't get rid of me that easy. I'm definitely willing to help, in the efforts to continue the relationships with some of the property acquisition and all the rest of the components getting the fire station built, because I want to see it succeed. And I want to see it succeed for the community, I want to see it succeed for our firefighters and the safety of everybody involved. So thank you so much for your time tonight, and thank you for all this. It's a lot. And thank you guys for showing up. I never told any of them about it. Except Chief Koo, big trouble. So thank you so much.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it.
Again, thank you to all of our firefighters who are here, and thank you again to you, Chief. Listen, that Fire Station 52 is probably the most passionate project I've been on since I've been on the foundation board, because I have the privilege of working with a lot of law enforcement and government agencies. And our firefighters are often the ones who do the most but get the least recognition. So I'm going hard for the firefighters. So thank you so much for being here this evening.
Thank you so much, Ian.
Okay, moving on, thank you so much. We are going to item number 5. Approval of minutes. I will turn it over to Secretary Gomez.
Thank you. So in your meeting packet tonight are meeting minutes from our June 4th, 2025 regular special board meeting. Do any board members have any comments or questions? I'll turn it back over to you.
Any comments from the public? Okay, if there are no questions or comments, I'll turn it over to Secretary Gomez for roll call vote.
Thank you. Board member Belinda Wong.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I move to approve the minutes.
Thank
A
you.
second.
Oh, 1 second.
Thanks.
Do roll call. Excuse me. Belinda Wong.
Aye.
Board member Safria Perry.
Aye.
Board member Jessica and Lima.
Aye.
Treasurer Pat Lynn.
Aye.
Secretary Raul Gomez is an aye. Vice President Jim Ruane is excused. And President Melissa Natani Jones.
Aye.
All ayes.
You. Moving to item number 6, Executive Director's Report, I'll turn it over to Leslie.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Glad to see everyone here at the RAC tonight. And thank you to all of our presenters we'll be hearing from tonight. We have a packed schedule, so I will keep my report brief. You have a written report for me. Just want to highlight a couple of things. First, our fiscal year 25-26 budget. I presented it to the San Bernardino City Council in June, and then they did adopt it at the end of June, so that has been approved. Our fiscal year 24-25 audit, accounting consultant Frank Bittner and I have closed last year's fiscal year books, the accounting books. We have given everything that the auditors have requested in the first round of materials. So they are now reviewing all of that. We expect to have a draft of audited financial statements around October 10th. We're in the process of scheduling a audit committee meeting for soon after that. And then Lance Smith Milbrag will be before the board to present the audited financial statements at our November meeting as he does. Also just wanted to flag for you that Community Foundation Week is coming up in a couple of months, November 12th and 18th. A week, but apparently that's what Community Foundation Week is this year. It was created in 1989 by President Bush one, as a way to honor all the good work community foundations do. We are part of the Alliance of Silicon Valley Community Foundations, which is overseen by the Silicon Valley Community Foundation. They kind of spearheaded an effort this year for our county's community foundations to be recognized by the board of supervisors. So we have been working with Supervisor Ray Miller's office to have the board of soups recognize all community foundations in the county. It's likely to be at their November 18th meeting. I will definitely attend. If others of the board would like to come represent us as well, we will have the opportunity to highlight all the work we've been doing for the county. So I just wanted to get that on your calendars. And that's my report.
Great, thank you so much, Leslie. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Any comments or questions from the public?
Nothing online.
Okay, that concludes the executive director's report. I will move to item number 7, consent calendar. We have 2 items on the consent calendar today as listed in the agenda. Would any members of the public like to comment on the consent items? Anything online?
No, hands raised online.
Okay. Unless there are no questions from the board, I call a motion to adopt the consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, and I'll turn it over to Secretary Gomez for roll call vote.
Board member Belinda Wong.
Aye.
Board member Supriya Perry.
Aye.
Board member Jessica and Lima.
Aye.
Treasurer Pat Lynn.
Aye.
Secretary Raul Gomez is an aye. Vice President Jim Ruane is excused. And President, excuse me, Melissa Natani Jones.
Aye.
All ayes.
Thank you. I just want to note that the resolution that the board just approved has changed the location of our regular board meetings to where we are meeting tonight, which is the RAC. So we will no longer be meeting at the senior center, and all future regular meetings will be held here in the community room at the RAC. Ooh. Item number 8, conduct of business. A, to receive report from investment committee on its August 20th, 2025. And I'm going to turn it over to Treasurer Lynn as chair of the investment committee, and we'll introduce the report and the presentation from our team at Sandhill.
Thank you, President Natani Jones. Good evening, everyone, and thank you to the public. So on August 22nd, we had our regular quarterly meeting for the investment committee. There were really 2 items. The first item was the outlook for the economic condition and the investment portfolio performance. And then the second item was looking at our cash flows and seeing whether there's any policy changes needed based on our strategy. In regards to the first item, I'll withhold comments because we have honored guests here who will be presenting the information much better than I could. And then, so I'll jump to the second item. With regards to the cash flow, because the board has agreed on and approved that we will be moving forward with a final legacy project, but all those projects are still in a planning phase. The committee decided that at this time, there wouldn't be any change. So just a step back, what had happened prior to this was back in June, we had approved to move the quasi endowment pool funding over to the strategic, and really moving forward at this point until the fire station 52 or any other legacy project moves further along. We will continue to keep just the strategic pool and the liquidity without changing our existing investment policy. And as time goes on a regular basis, the committee will continue to evaluate and see whether any policy changes will be recommended, but at this time there aren't any. That's the quick and dirties. And with that, I will pass it over to our esteemed guest from Sandhill, Brian Sobkowski.
Hey, thank you, Treasurer Lynn and members of the Board of Directors for the opportunity to speak tonight on the economic environment that we're all operating in, as well as your portfolio, and how it's been optimized for the circumstances and how those circumstances are now evolving. And of course, your portfolio outcomes and the positive outcomes that are impacting your foundation and the mission that you are pursuing. So we'll dive right in with a big picture look at the economic environment. We normally delve pretty deeply into this in the investment committee. We're just hitting on really the top 3 big drivers: economic growth, interest rates, inflation. And you can take a look at economic growth here on the page. I think the big surprise for all of us is that economic growth was remarkable in the first half of the year. Despite all of the sort of trauma that the markets went through with so-called Liberation Day, and a lot of the uncertainty that was out there, if you X out exports and imports, core GDP grew at 3%. And so we're acknowledging that actually there's relatively strong employment, great consumption. The financial markets are strong. The IPO market is open again. There's a big AI capital cycle that's ongoing that actually almost accounts for a full percent of GDP at this point. So there's a very strong economic backdrop. On the interest rate front, on the following page, we got some news out of Jackson Hole that we'll get our first rate cut this month, which will be 25 basis points, and we'll get another one by the end of the year. So the rate cut cycle has started. And the reason that is happening is really the following page on inflation. Obviously, there was this giant move in the post-pandemic period for a variety of reasons. That inflation has largely been tamed. And now the question, of course, is what, if any, impact will the tariffs have on inflation looking forward? To date, there hasn't been a material impact, but this is backward-looking data in its early days. So this will be the hot chart to watch all year. But as it stands right now, despite all the volatility of the year, economic growth is strong, interest rates are getting less restrictive, inflation looks contained, there's strong corporate earnings. So overall, it's a pretty good backdrop, and that's why the numbers are gonna look the way they're gonna look. Before we hit on that, we'll just remind everybody of the structure here, particularly for the community. I know you all are very familiar with this after, this is year number 9 of making this presentation. But the original pools of capital were split into 3 distinct buckets. One was the quasi endowment that had a long-term outlook. And so that was managed in a traditional endowment way, between growth and capital preservation. The strategic pool had a shorter time horizon, so that was managed more conservatively. And then the liquidity pool, which is basically cash and short-term fixed income, was funded and restocked at the direction of the executive director as expenses became visible and could be reserved for. So it was a really well-constructed approach, and it allowed the investment committee and the executive director to really adjust and evolve the asset base as the circumstances evolve. And as they evolve again in a more significant way, now as you sort of look at your second act, you have the right structure in place even today, and we'll talk a little bit about that too. So how each of these look, and unfortunately you'll need an eye chart unless it's in front of you today, but as was just mentioned, the quasi endowment was closed officially on June 5th. And so everything on this page is really as of June 5th. And you can see really the most important stuff is really the performance there, the 1 year at over 8%. And we have since inception, which is 7% and change on an annualized basis. And because it's the last time you're going to see this, we also have the cumulative return, the aggregate absolute return, which is 89%. So this has been really an extraordinary 9 years. And the fact that the board allowed for a quasi endowment ended up really driving a lot of the excess returns that now allow you to sort of think creatively about what to do with the residual here. The rest of these other 2 portfolios are on the next page. The strategic pool, you can see how that's allocated. That balance there, 31 million, of course, includes the assets that were transferred over from the quasi endowment. You can see the 1 year performance over 8%. Bond markets got a good return these days. And since inception, about 3.4. And then again, even cash returning 5% in the prior 1 year period. So it's of all times that you all are getting more conservative, it's wonderful that you're getting paid for it. So having 0% return. And of course, all these portfolios, as you can see with this little checkbox at the bottom, just a quick oversight item that they are being managed in compliance with your investment policy statements. And on the following page, this is just so we're not too ethereal about things. When we talk about 89%, well, what does that mean? Well, this is what we call the reconciliation page in dollars. And what it says is because of the way you structured this over the last 9 years, you've created almost 24 million in incremental dollars. And that allowed you to, of course, not only meet all your stated goals as an organization, but to make all these wonderful grants that are listed out there. And as we said, to be able to pivot here on the fire station with a substantial gift. And so it's really a moment to really celebrate. So congratulations to all. And then on the bottom, just a couple other estimated performance numbers through August 22nd. So I recall, I can't read that, but things continue to be quite strong in the markets. As you know, we're basically at all-time highs. And then on the following page, obviously we want to always scale our company so that we can give you the performance and service outcomes that create the best possible outcomes for you all. And so this is really about sort of quantitative numbers, but once a year, we just let you know, we're 4.3 billion in assets under management, 2 offices in Palo Alto and San Francisco, 14 internal shareholders, 32 employees. And again, this is all designed to hopefully create an experience that is a positive one for our clients and with all of you. And I'll just maybe end by saying, it's been a great honor for us to be involved in this. This has been a wonderful sort of professional highlight to do something and be a part of something that's been so wonderful for the community. So Kristen and I and the rest of the team certainly thank you for that opportunity. And And of course, we're here to answer any questions if there are any. And with that, I will hand it back over to you, Treasurer Lynn.
I will actually hand it back to President
Okay.
Jones.
Thank you so much, Brian, for the report. Any comments from the public?
No answers online.
Okay. Any comments or questions from the board? Yeah.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Really helpful to kind of see the greater macro context. For our funds specifically, now that most of it is in the strategic pool, is it fair to continue expecting that 7 to 8% return, or is that more of an anomaly and maybe it'll go back to what it was in the earlier days?
Yeah, it's a great question. That return is unlikely to be replicated. You know, we can get you about 4.5 in bonds, and that's more or less 80% of that portfolio. Stocks, of course, have been very strong, so maybe you get more if we continue in this full cycle that we're in. But I think it's more reasonable to think sort of 4 to 5% on a going forward basis. Be reasonable here. Which, of course, is all you're really trying to do is protect against inflation and construction costs and things like that. And at this point, unless this winds up being much farther out than maybe is thought about right now. So that, I guess, is the only real question for the investment committee, is really time horizon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great question.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
I have a comment.
Yes.
I do want to say, while you said appreciation of partnership with us, we also really appreciate the leadership you and Kristen have been bringing to the table. It is not a goodbye. It sounds like a goodbye, but it's not. But
I've been mourning this a little bit myself.
but yeah, the return, what we're able to achieve really is this amazing partnership, and I do want to thank you and Kristen for this.
It's very kind. The investment committee you guys put together has been extraordinary. It's evolved. So much talent done there. There's a lot to celebrate. It's a very professional experience. So a lot to be thankful for, to bring that kind of talent into as a governance capacity for the investment committee. So kudos back to you all, for sure.
I want to just echo Treasurer Lynn and just say thank you again to you, Ryan, and to Kristen. We appreciate all the reports and the updates in your partnership with our investment committee. And I also just want to shout out Leslie for her financial acumen to sort of work in partnership with Sandhill to be able to get us to this point, which I think is going to be a really great opportunity for us to continue to serve the San Bruno community for more in the future. So I just want to say thank you to all.
Thank you.
And that concludes the item. Thank you so much, Ryan, and thank you, Kristen, our San Bruno. I'm gonna move it over to item B, receive report on the school athletic field improvements grant from the San Bruno Education Foundation and San Bruno Park School District. We have a number of program reports tonight, and the first is on the school athletic field program improvement grant. A year ago, the board approved a strategic grant to the San Bruno Education Foundation to support athletic field improvements at San Bruno Park School District schools in the amount not to exceed $150,000, with $50,000 designated for improvements at the fields at which of John Muir Elementary School, Bel Air Elementary School, and Carson Intermediate School. Based on documentation submitted by the San Bruno Education Foundation, SBCF has disbursed payments totaling $140,490 for the 3 sets of field improvements, with a balance of $9,510 for the Bel Air field still to be paid. San Bruno Park School District Superintendent Matt Duffy is here tonight to provide an update on the field improvements enabled by the grant. With him is San Bruno Education Foundation President Heather Lotta. Matt, you are.
Good evening, board members, Director Connie Jones, Ms. Hafmia, thanks for having me. Miss Lata is on her way, so she may catch the end of this or potentially the next one. I don't know if she did what I did, which was go to the senior center. So I was just on autopilot. So then I realized, of course, you're here. It's a really awesome space. Well, first, let me just say thank you for these grants, and I get a chance to talk about a few different ones tonight. The first one being the fields. And I guess I could back up and say that I'm starting my fourth year superintendent here in San Bruno, and the fields, especially I would say the field at John Muir, when I got here, really stood out as like, wow, this is too bad that this is unplayable. And it would really be nice to have this as a long-term project. And there were certainly a lot of other things to do in the school district to focus on and prioritize. But we had really been thinking about the fields a lot, and I think a few different things came together. Obviously, there was some urgency with the soccer situation. And then to be able to come to you all and make the ask, it's been fantastic. So we have made improvements on the John Muir Field. We've also actually, not with your money, but with ours, even though we don't have students at Rollingwood, we put a bunch of money there as well, and our soccer organizations are using that. Small patch of grass, but pretty extensively. And so we've worked on John Muir, we've worked on Rollingwood, we're working on Parkside, and we really continue to dig into Bel Air fields. So this is a picture of John Muir. You could go to the next slide. And this is the before and after. And I think that's a really telling picture. That's not like a pre-construction sort of phase, like pictures. That's just kind of what it looked like. And so, you know, some hard work went into that in a lot of different ways. One was obviously contracting with professionals who could help do some work around it. But then, you know, everybody also put a lot of sweat equity into it. Our team, some of the leaders of AYSO and Lowen getting out there. And now we have a place that the kids can enjoy during the day, during recess, during lunch, and of course for soccer. So that's John Muir. We've taken it kind of as far as we can take it right now. I mean, there's some next steps if we really want to spend a lot of money trying to de-gopher the entire place, but I know that's a city issue, but it's a really nice space right now. So, you know, thank you so much. I know the kids and the John Muir families, certainly the soccer community appreciates it. So that's John Muir. We can go to our next slide. Parkside, one of the main things we're doing at Parkside is really focusing on girls softball. We have our own programs out there, but we don't ourselves field a lot of teams. We either do that through the private organizations like AYSO or girls softball, and then City Parks and Rec runs most of the teams. So we've talked to our partners about what they're looking for and what they're interested in. And our biggest partner at the Parkside field is San Bruno Girls Softball. And so we've been working with them on both kind of soil flattening, just making the infields playable, but also a lot of fencing. Our fencing had been sort of falling apart, and they asked for a lot of safety fencing for the girls down the foul lines, on top of the dugouts, in the pitching areas. So we're almost done. And we're just excited about it. I think if you've ever been out there, you know, just older infrastructure, and we're excited to continue to give it a new look. That's great. We can keep going. Certainly the most complicated project of all is Bel Air. Bel Air, we're working on the soccer field, and that sits between the two baseball fields down at Bel Air. And it's really needs sort of massive irrigation, improvements. And is there one more picture? Next, one more. No, that's it, right? Okay, I had a newer one probably after this, just showing like a lot of the work that people are getting into to try to find a set of lost irrigation valves, like throughout the whole field, that also extends all the way into the outfield of the baseball field, which is now green for the first time in many, many years. So we're in partnership with baseball as well as the soccer organizations. So we did a lot of fencing as well, just to keep the place safe and secure. And then a lot of work right now on soil and irrigation. And we're just continuing to work at it. We've got about $10,000 left. It's gonna continue to go into soil, irrigation. And then we'd love, as I know the soccer leagues are trying to, over the next, I guess, 3 to 4 weeks by October, really be playing at Bel Air. So they're moving, everybody's moving as quickly as we can. But, even though this is our middle field is the one that we're focused on, even our baseball partners are excited. They just never seen the outfield so green. So it's been nice to just bring a little hope and optimism to some folks who've been out there working hard for a while. So just a big thank you. It's making a big improvement. Aesthetically also, just like looks more professional for us as an organization. And I think that's been a little bit of your mission as well, bringing some of these really aesthetically pretty places to the district, to the city, and of course to our district. So happy to take questions on the playing fields, but it's going well. Thank you.
Are there any questions from the public regarding this item?
Nobody on.
Any comments or questions from the board?
Thank you so much for the presentation. So my kids go to John Muir. We love seeing the field green when we walk up there, and the fact that they can use it at recess is a major upgrade and something we heard from our neighbors that hasn't been the case for decades. Wanted to ask about Parkside, more of a detailed question.
Sure.
I have a softball player in the house.
Yes.
Are there, like, the new backstops look great from what we saw down there? Are there also plans to mitigate the gophers in the outfield there?
We are trying to get there. To
Yeah.
do that, we have to ask everybody to probably get off the field for a couple of months to really get after it. And that's been the harder thing. We have a contract with pest control, and they come out and they set traps every week and they bring gophers out, but it is the most challenging part. And we know kids turn their ankles, they fall in holes. And it's just, I think, a much bigger project that's, a much more expensive project too, but it's certainly on our list, both short term and long term. It's a good question though. Yeah.
It leads to some great mascots. I think that was the Gophers team this
Yes.
year. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Coyotes,
Yeah. And then, kind of a broader question. So we know like this brings a lot of value to the students of the schools being
Yeah.
able to use it. And then of course, to the district to be able to rent it out. Is it actually like a moneymaker for the district, or is that more of like a break even on maintenance when you?
It's not a moneymaker
Yeah.
right now. And that's mostly because I think we have these older agreements with some of our major users, who have historically put a lot of work into helping maintain these fields. So we don't really charge market rate. It doesn't really cover our custodial fees, and we're trying to figure that out. Because we want to honor the local organizations, but we also want to figure out like, how do we at least break even when we need custodial or other things? So in some ways, we're breaking even by all the work that people put in for us. We don't have like a grounds team. So all these organizations work really hard. But we're slowly getting there. We used to charge just like a team rate. That was the financial model, like you paid X amount per player for the team, and you could kind of use the field in an unlimited capacity. Now we've moved to an hourly rate, but for the program partners, we're only charging $2 or $5 an hour. It's very small, but at least we've taken a step to say, we want to quantify how often somebody's using it and charge by the hour instead of, have it for a season. We're also trying to create some alignment with the city and how they structure their field fees. There's not a like good guy, bad guy here. So that's a step we've taken. Yeah.
That's helpful.
Any other questions or comments? No? Okay, unless there are any further comments from the board, this concludes this, so thank you so much, Matt, for the report. And you can feel free to stay at the podium. Item C, receive report on the San Bruno Park School District School Field Trip Grant from San Bruno Park School District. In October of 2022, the board approved a strategic grant to the San Bruno Park School District to provide support and or cover the costs associated with transportation and other expenses related to off-campus field trips and on-campus assemblies. Of the 35,000 awarded, 5,000 was earmarked to support activities at each of then 5 elementary schools and 10,000 to support activities at Parkside Intermediate School. In approving the grant, the board viewed it as a part of the foundation's COVID relief efforts. At the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, no field trips were available in 2020 to 2021, when the school spent most of the year in distance learning format and most field trip venues were not open. The grant acknowledged the tremendous value of the field trips for elementary and middle school students, the opportunity to leave the school campus and be exposed to new experiences at museums, parks, concerts, and other community venues, especially after more than 2 years of the pandemic. The grant was originally for the 22-23 school year. Due to challenges in spending all of the grant funds, the school district requested 2 extensions of the grant period through the end of 24-25 school year. The grant funds have now been fully expended. Superintendent Duffy will provide a final report on this grant and share with us how the grant funds have been used by the schools.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, and I'm proud to say we finally spent the dollars here. And just hearing you in that report about the pandemic made me think just for a minute, we just opened schools 2 weeks ago, and I should share, like, we've had a really great opening of schools across the district. It's been really nice, just to see everybody come back to school and have school in its sort of normal, way. And one of the ways we do school is to try to get out and do field trips. And this has been a really interesting grant because, it taught us a lot about our schools. Some schools have a culture of like getting out. We go and people go, and other schools, it's not as much their culture. Maybe they do more at school or more assemblies. It took us a little while to get this going. Some of the challenges are substitutes, especially in middle school, because you're not usually taking all 150 of your kids. You might take a group and need some substitutes. And buses, they're expensive, but they're not always available. But nevertheless, folks got out to a lot of places, all the known spots around the bay, whether it's the aquarium or the, oratorium, many of the kind of science-based places. And then we did use a little bit of it on outdoor education as well, which is one of our biggest costs. And so that helped a little bit along the way. So, yeah, I wouldn't take too much time on this one, but, I think this grant was initiated I think the idea of it was initiated before I arrived, and then kind of as I got here, in the fall, the money came in, but what a great idea. Because it really actually pushed us to push our schools and our folks to like, go, we have this money, go, we have this money. And for some, like I said, some staff who just love to get out was great, and others maybe who are a little more nervous about different things, whether it's safety or travel. I think it just kind of helped motivate folks to go. So it's been really helpful. So thank you very much. And we've been able to continue to find some other grants. We have community school grants for Bel Air and Allen. And those are gonna help a little bit with outdoor education for those schools. Over time, we've been able to put a little bit more money in the school site budget, so they're using some of their money for field trips as well. So just so you know that we feel like this will be, the energy that's been created will be able to be sustained. Yeah.
Are there any comments from the public?
No answer is online.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board?
Yes, in terms of, impact, where did this make the greatest difference? Was it related to, students who might not have been able to participate, being able to participate? Was it expansion of additional, like, trips or, how?
Yeah, I mean, I think the single, like, most difficult factor in the trips is the cost of buses. And I think that's where people just like give up. Of course, there's public transportation and there's family pooling, but if you're like, I got 30 kids, I need a bus, oh my God, the bus is $2,800, like. So I think that's where it just made the greatest impact. It was like, no, you have it. Order the bus, it's okay, because eyebrows would raise at the cost. So I think that helped people cross that hurdle. And then through that, I think our office managers got to know like bus companies and where to order and how much it would cost. And so then I think it's made it a little bit easier into the future years.
It's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, unless there are any further comments from the board, that concludes this item. Thank you so much, Matt. Do you receive report of the San Bernardino Reader System City Program Grant from the City of San Bruno? In December of 2024, the board approved strategic grants to the City of San Bruno and the San Bruno Education Foundation totaling $109,000 over 3 years to bolster San Bruno's longstanding relationship with Narita, Japan. In the first year of the grant, San Bruno hosted the Narita delegation consisting of 10 middle school students and 4 adults. During the last week of March, San Bruno sent a delegation made up of Parkside students, teachers, staff, and 1 city staff member to Narita in early July. The foundation dispersed the 1-year grant payments of $35,000 to the Education Foundation and $15,000 to the city in January. We will now have a joint presentation from the school district, the School Education Foundation, and the city to update us on the grant and the sister city program, including sustainability efforts to develop other funding sources of the program. Superintendent Duffy and Brian Adams from the city manager's office will give this report, and President Heather Lodson is also available for questions. I'll turn it over to you, Matt and Brian.
Okay, well, thanks for having us. We, both sides of the house here, put some slides together to have just a single deck for you. But it's been a really nice partnership. I know it's always been a nice partnership between the city and the district, but I think the grant, in thinking about how it's executed, and its sustainability portion, have brought the teams together to work as cohesively as possible. So you can go to the next slide. So as you know, we're working on the first year of a 3-year grant, and the money covered both program and sustainability. So we had money that you gave us to actually just pay the costs of travel and hosting, et cetera. And this other part to help us think about sustainability. What are we gonna do to sustain this program over time? So we're not scrambling every year to find the dollars. So I think many people here know the history of the partnership. Started in 1990, had a COVID pause, and really just gives our kids and then the Rita kids an opportunity to exchange traditions, cultural understanding, and it's pretty awesome when you see it. You see the kids there, just now having done this for a few years. And I've even enjoyed just sitting and having dinner with the Japanese delegation and talking baseball or, just learning. So, it's really informative. Learning stuff. So, I think, we've got a slide there on the benefits. I think the benefits are fairly self-explanatory at this point in terms of this kind of cultural interchange. But it is very special. I've had the opportunity to work in a few different districts and a lot of different schools over the years. And this is a very, very unique program, very unique. A lot of kids and schools will go on sort of the traditional kind of travel tour company program. This is so homegrown, so organic, and just so local. Between like two smaller cities, so it is really fantastic. Keep going. So just wanted to go over the selection process briefly. And we're gonna have the Narita, I think you're having the Narita students come at some point, are you?
Your board meeting.
Oh, I know they're coming to our board meeting, but they're not coming here, right? Okay, well, they are coming to our board meeting in September, so if you log on, you'll see them all, and they'll be sharing some stories and highlights and really excited about their visit. So just to review that process, it's open to 8th grade students. They have to apply, they have to write an essay, they have to interview, they have to have teacher recommendations, they have to have some minimum GPA and attendance requirements, and they go through an entire process to land themselves in this kind of really special opportunity. This is just a review of the March visit. So if you think about it in the calendar year, we host first, and then Narita hosts second. And in March, the delegation does different things. This year it was a tour of San Bruno, a visit to the Giants Park at Oracle, and they did a trip to Napa for some wine tasting, and a drive down to the Cantor Center. Yes, and I think we fed them very well over a week.
All right, good evening, members of the San Bruno Community Foundation. Right now, this is the city manager. Thanks, Samantha, for handing it off. This quick slide just gives a summary of the finances or how the grant was spent for the city in the past several months. So on the left is basically what we spent it on for the March reception, and on the right is for the visit. This totals out to $13,600. We do intend to spend down the rest of the grant on gift items that will be shared with volunteers and the members of the delegation next year, and also for our visit in July, giving gifts to various volunteers. I joined the city of San Bruno back in October of last year, so I was really grateful for the opportunity to be the representative for the city and the delegation leader. I think that I tried to include a lot of pictures in addition to the other pictures of the presentation. I was really hoping to speak to some of them. But I think it's a really remarkable program because the students are taken to so many different places, not only in Narita, but inside Japan. It's kind of like in the same way that we take them around San Bruno, into San Francisco, into Napa. we also got that same experience in Japan, where we're not just in Narita, we had this opportunity to go to like the bottom of Chiba Prefecture, to go to the top of Nokogiriyama to see like the scary view and that kind of stuff, and to visit like their equivalent of Treasure Island. So like this really long bridge between somewhere in Chiba Prefecture that goes all the way to Tokyo. It's a bridge on one side, but it's an underwater tunnel on the other side, and in the middle, there's a giant parking structure that has a bunch of stores and gift shops and restaurants. So, they took us there, and it's called like the Firefly of the Ocean or whatever. But lots of cool different activities, shopping, nature, Buddhism, Japanese culture, etc. But
If there's any slides they wanna go back to, I'm sure they can do it.
we have more than that slide, I'm sure, yeah, so I think speaking to the benefits, on the left is one of our last days when we visited Gyeonggi Temple, which is like a kind of I believe it's like a staple of like all the friendship and like exchange programs that Narita has. So when you go there, they have a wall that, the one where Ari visited last year, it's still on the wall. And all the different programs that they manage in different cities, it's also there on the wall. So it was a great opportunity to kind of get like a intro course to Buddhism. The students meditated, they traced pictures of the Buddha, and they got little small origami from the monks that was prepared. And then they, played some traditional Japanese folk games, tied them up with a blindfold, made them spin around, and then try to find a watermelon to smash it. Only one hit left. Either you do it or you don't. And then on the right, picture we took inside Toyama Middle School or junior high school. So this was after we had an opportunity to do a little bit of calligraphy, and it just so happened that the day that we were visiting the school was on the day of Tanabata, which is like a Japanese festival. There's stuff, but it's like, there's like a goddess, she has a lover, her dad is the god of the universe, he says you guys are too busy, like I'm divorcing you or whatever, but Tanabata is the one day they get to visit each other, and you write your wish on a piece of paper, hang it on a tree. Students did that. We took a big group picture with some of the teachers and the volunteers that are helping us that day. But next slide. And so yeah, more of the pictures, lots of the different things they did, lots of exploring, hiking, and then also performing for the students. So that was like a really crazy experience. Is we got the big welcome at Toyama Junior High School. It was a big event prepared and planned by the students. So they were the ones at the podium emceeing. They walked up, they said a welcome thing in Japanese and in English. They performed a dance. They gave us the explainer on Tanabata, and then they let our students go up and dance and do their like prepared material. And they also had us all like introduce ourselves in Japanese on stage, to give us like epic embarrassment, but we did our best. Next slide. And then, oh yeah, there we go. So more of those things. So top left, they took us to a commercial warehouse in Narita. So Narita manages their airport. So it does have a lot of international exports. So they showed us that new facility they created with the intent of basically taking a bunch of Japanese agricultural and fish products that are destined to be exported. It was a very new cutting edge facility. Agricultural products are on one side, fish products are on the other, and never the twain shall meet, except when they're going into a truck to leave the country. And then in the middle top is when we were at Gyeonggi Temple, smashing watermelons, top right at Toyama High School, bottom left also at Toyama High School, bottom center hanging the notes on the Tanabata tree, and then bottom right we're at the Firefly of the Ocean parking lot, gift shop, center, deluxe. And then also want to mention some of the cultural programs. So the Community Services Department did organize several events leading up to the visit of the delegation earlier this year in March. That included an Ikebana or flower arranging event. That event, both these events were free to the public, but technically speaking, the Ikebana event had 39 attendees, so it was sold out. So people really want to learn how to arrange flowers. And then for the Wagashi, we had 17 attendees for this virtual event, so demonstrating how to make Japanese sweets. And then for the actual visit of the delegation in March, we had an event in Centennial Plaza. We had the performance from the students, and we had Genry Arts doing taiko, and we also had Mr. Wallerman Borges giving the demonstration of judo or karate, and then we had 75 attendees from the community for that event. And yeah, more pictures from Narita, very exciting. And then more pictures from the March. Wait, is this a nice? No, this is from our March visit. So in the top left, taking the adult delegates to Napa Valley, Kenzo Estate, a very unique because it is owned by the CEO of Capcom, or the founder of Capcom, Japanese video game company. He wanted to create a theme park in Napa Valley. Napa Valley said heck no. So eventually it came around like, well, I guess I'll make a winery. And taking them to Oracle Park, our welcome ceremony at City Hall, and then also taking the students to the memorial at Tanforan, where we got an explainer on the history of that. And yeah. Oh, more stuff. So I think probably one of the more exciting things that happened, our very first full day in Narita, the students had the opportunity to participate in the Gion Festival. And so the Gion Festival, many festivals in Japan involve pulling mikoshi, or like movable shrines or floats around. And yeah, the students all got to participate. It was super, super hot. I think something that's really interesting about Japan is they have like these menthol sprays that they use for like cooling. So they have like menthol wipes, wipe them on yourself to get cool, but they also just had aerosol cans full of menthol. And it was a real shock because they just started spraying us, and it's like, what is this? And it's like, it's to get you cool. And I think at least for myself and one of the other adult delegates, like kind of like left a burning sting feeling. They're like, no more, like I'll just sweat and suffer. I don't want to burn. But what was really cool is that the local news outlets came by and they wanted to interview some of the students. So in the top center, they basically asked some of the students like, what's your strong impression of Japan this first day? What was it like pulling the mikoshi? And like, what are you looking forward to in your visit to Japan? And that was broadcast on like, local news. The visit to Daionji Temple was also broadcast on local news outlets. And yeah, it was a really cool opportunity. And then they got to participate in some of the class activities, like basically becoming like conversation partners during the students' English language classes at Toyama Junior High School. And then the bottom left is from our hike to Nokogiriyama. And yeah, next slide. Woo! I guess with that, I'll just hand it back to Matt for any final comments.
Yeah, and similarly, there we go. We've basically used all of the program money for year one. There may be a couple of dollars left. But I think we were pretty on target with what we needed to fund the entire program for our students and staff. So yeah, it's been great. And our next part of this is really thinking about sustainability. A lot of different ideas floating around, from an annual alumni dinner, where Narita alumni and alumni family could come back and share and enjoy and create a fundraiser and potentially use the rack for that, to just, an easy giving page on the website of SBCF, and a few other things. So now that everybody's back, we're kind of working through that and happy to report on that next time. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Brian. Any further questions or comments on this item? Okay, that concludes the report. Thank you so much. Item E, receive report on the RAC startup programming and outreach activities grant from the city of San Bruno. Last September, the board approved a $2.25 million grant to the city of San Bruno to support startup programming and outreach activities at the RAC for over 3 years. The foundation is committed to supporting a successful startup phase for the RAC and helping ensure that the facility's operations get launched on financially sustainable footing, and thus this funding is intended to underwrite programs that promote access. marketing and outreach, and the ramp up of operations. The first year of the grant concluded along with the fiscal year on June 30th, and the foundation has received the first interim grant report from the city. Although the year one allocation for this grant is 1 million, the city reported expending $184,873.94 in furtherance of the grant's purposes. Community Services Deputy Director Damien Sandholm, which support from Community Services Director Travis Farland, will provide us with a report on how the city utilized the grant funds in year one, the reasons it was unable to spend the full year one allocation, preview how the city intends to use the grant funds in year two, and present a request from the city to roll over the remaining balance of the year one funds to year 2 and 3. I'll turn it over to you, Ken.
Excellent. Good evening, President Tony Jones and Foundation Board members. My name is Damien Sandholm, the Community Services Deputy Director for the City of San Bruno. I am here this evening to give an update on the grant received by the City of San Bruno to support the startup programs and operations for the new Recreation and Aquatic Center. Here is the agenda for tonight's meeting or presentation. So this presentation summarizes the city's use of year one startup grant funds provided by the San Bruno Community Foundation for the Recreation and Aquatic Center, also referred to as the RAC in this presentation. We'll be presenting both completed initiatives and upcoming priorities for year two. This grant was established to provide financial support for the successful launch and initial operation of the facility. The opening timeline for the RAC was delayed due to various factors commonly affecting large-scale construction projects. In the spring of 2024, staff identified the need to establish a target opening date of July 24th to ensure structured approach to project completion. Successfully ramping up operations for a facility of this scale requires several critical steps, including stabilizing staffing, developing programs, and coordinating with key partners. However, delays impacted the planned phased out rollout of initial programs, make it imperative to open the facility as soon as it was ready for operations. Key components for the RAC's long-term operational success include fostering community access and engagement, evaluating financial performance, and continuously assessing program and service quality to meet the expectations of the San Bruno community. With the opening of the RAC, San Bruno once again has a thriving community hub for events and programs. In its first year, the RAC brought back classic San Bruno traditions and introduced new community events. The reimagined Halloween event, the Monster Mash Bash, included pumpkin decorating, a DJ, themed games, and a costume contest. Nearly 300 people attended this event, and thanks to the grant, admission was free for members. Another highlight was our Polar Bear Plunge on New Year's Day, where more than 40 participants braved the unheated outdoor pool before enjoying refreshments, a commemorative item, and use of the indoor pool. Both of these events will now be offered annually. The RAC also piloted smaller gatherings, including a paint night with Pinot's Palette on May 9th, and a flick and float on June 13th, where over 60 participants watched Moana 2 from the indoor pool. By subsidizing events, the RAC adds value to membership and strengthens the community engagement. During the first year of the grant, we made several adjustments to enhance the value of memberships and admissions, expand programs, and reduce barriers to participation. Each membership now includes 2 guest passes, encouraging members to introduce new people to the RAC. On rainy or extreme weather days, residents can use the indoor walking track at no cost, supporting active lifestyles. Spectator and ADA companion passes provide essential access for caregivers and family members. The grant also supported fitness programs, allowing instructor-led classes to be included with admission and enable us to provide guest passes for community fundraisers. Additionally, it helped reduce barriers for new instructors by covering the initial business license and insurance costs offer programs here at the RAC. Ensuring the RAC's long-term success also requires strong administrative strategies in pricing, marketing, and branding. Staff worked with industry professionals to evaluate membership and rental fees, ensuring they align with comparable facilities while remaining accessible to the San Bruno community. These recommendations were presented to City Council as a part of a master fee schedule, where a formal fee structure was adopted that sunsets introductory promotional rates. The grant also supported investments in branding and outreach. This included launching a standalone RAC website, creating templates for marketing materials, and implementing a social media plan to strengthen community awareness and engagement. Here's the financial analysis for the first year of grant funding. A detailed report was submitted to the foundation's executive director at the beginning of August. Spending was lower than projected, primarily because eligible categories such as membership enhancement, program development, and marketing tend to have smaller expenditures in the first year of a new facility. In addition, staff resources were focused on establishing operations and service delivery. Even so, the grant supported important initiatives, including expanded fitness classes, guest and access passes, and new special events that brought the community together. Turning now to year two, I'd like to share what we've accomplished so far this quarter. On July 19th, we hosted Community Day at the RAC, welcoming more than 2,000 participants for live music, food trucks, vendors, and a children's fun zone. Next year, this event will return to its traditional day, pairing once again with the Posey Parade in June. From July 24th to August 24th, we held our anniversary celebration and membership drive. This included contests, interactive activities at the service desk, social media engagements, and healthy treats for members and guests. As a part of this campaign, initiation fees were waived for new monthly members. Grant support also continues to help onboard contract instructors, reducing their upfront costs and enabling us to bring new programs online. To support sustainability, the city adopted a formal fee structure that sunsets its original promotional rates. To ease this transition for residents, the grant will fund a 20% incentive for resident memberships this fiscal year. Looking ahead, several initiatives are planned for the remainder of the fiscal year. We will continue onboarding instructors, expand our fee assistance program, and implement a shuttle service to improve senior access to the RAC. A new corporate membership program will also be developed for San Bruno businesses. Our fitness offerings will continue to grow with classes such as water exercise, yoga, Pilates, nutritional workshops, and fitness room orientations. Each member also receives one personal training session to help them get the most out of their RAC experience. We are finalizing our Silver Sneakers partnership and exploring additional fitness reimbursement opportunities. On the event side, the RAC will host a breakfast with Santa in December and a wedding fair in March, further promoting the facility as a premier community and event destination. Staff will continue creating events that showcase the RAC and strengthen opportunities for connection and engagement across the San Bruno community. In addition, the city is exploring expanded advertising strategies beyond social media and the website to further raise awareness of the RAC within San Bruno and the surrounding area. We are also considering facility enhancements, including a potential partnership with a neighboring church to expand parking with grant funds supporting conceptual design. In addition, we are considering temporary protective floor coverings for the gym and fitness studio, specifically for events, to allow the RAC to host a wider variety of activities. Another opportunity is to extend the outdoor pool schedule year-round. Originally intended to operate May through October, the pool could remain open with grant support for heating costs, which would enable expanded programming, rentals by local swim teams, and more flexible scheduling for lessons and fitness classes. Additional grant-supported initiatives may include expanding Child Watch, coordinating additional shuttle services, and developing other programs to further increase community access. These next two slides show our financial projections for the programs discussed, in addition to new and reoccurring programs. Go to the next one. Okay, thank you. Next, for this fiscal year, we have projected grant-supported spending of approximately $711,000, with an additional $450,000 and some change available for programming and access initiatives. The allocation of the additional funds is still under development, and we look forward to working with the foundation and the San Bruno community to identify the most impactful opportunity for their uses. The city is requesting that the $815,126.06 in unused year one funds be rolled over into years 2 and 3. Specifically, $415,126.06 would be applied to year 2, bringing the total to $1,165,126.06. And $400,000 would be applied to year 3, bringing that year's allocation to $900,000. We also request the board's formal consideration of the initiatives presented tonight, with the understanding that staff will consult with the executive director before pursuing any new ideas outside of these categories. Thank you for the opportunity to provide this update, and on behalf of the city of San Bruno, we are grateful for the foundation's support in helping the Recreation and Aquatic Center thrive. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Thank you very much for the presentation. I'm a happy RAC user and participated in a lot of these programs. Especially the community day was a lot of fun this year. I guess to help us understand, where you're thinking about putting the money, where does the city kind of expect most of the revenue to come from long-term with the RAC? Is it more the memberships or the rental space? And maybe, understanding that would help us know, are we investing in the areas that are going to lead to financial sustainability?
And so it would be primarily from membership and then rentals. I think those probably represent about 75% of our revenue for this facility, with, I would say, probably in that 45% being membership, and then the 30% or so being rentals, once this facility is fully rented for life events and things like that.
Oh, and can I also ask when the website is going up?
So the
The
website-
box look great.
So,
Yeah.
the website is actually live right now. It went live last month. And so now we are kind of moving into that marketing phase, as we are living in kind of a dual website land as we transition everyone over.
I know that there were some questions in terms of the friendliness of being able to fill out an application for rental use. And I want to say that there was some conversation about adjusting that to make it more user friendly. Were there any updates to that process?
We are still evaluating that process. So what we did do is we added some extra staff to the problem so that we could be a little bit more responsive. Because once we did open up the application process, everyone had a bunch of questions, and so we needed to grab in some other part-time staff to help coordinate with that. And then we did on the new website add a rental calculator, which helps people understand at least the estimated cost of what it would cost to rent the facility, which helps with some of the back and forth questions, because we felt like that's what's really been bogging us down a lot is lots of back and forth, which can take up a lot of staff time there. So we're working through FAQs and some other online things. It's difficult to get that perfect rental process online for such a beautiful facility, because we really want them to see it. We want them to see us, so that we can make sure that we're giving this beautiful facility to the right people.
Any questions or comments from the public?
No hands raised online.
Okay. Are there any other discussions on the board? So before the board is a resolution modifying the strategic grant to the city of San Bruno, supporting startup programming and outreach activities at the San Bruno Recreation and Aquatic Center. But before we get into the resolution, the board needs to address disclosure of a financial interest by the executive director. As mentioned in the board meeting packet, the board must determine whether the proposed modification of the grant to the city of San Bruno presents a conflict of interest under nonprofit and exempt entity laws in accordance with the foundation's conflict of interest policy. Heather, would you please provide background on this issue for the board?
Yeah, this is, the board has addressed this issue before. You all have adopted a conflict of interest policy to make sure that when the board makes decisions that may, that someone on the board or in the foundation might have a financial interest in, that's fully disclosed and considered both for the board members and the public. The policy makes very clear that just because there is a financial interest does not mean there's a conflict of interest, but we want to make sure to take that step. to determine whether it does. And so, your executive director has, complied with that policy by disclosing that, her son continues his internship with the city of San Bruno, which is a wonderful opportunity for him and for the city, I'm sure. He has, the agenda materials update the facts a little bit. He's since graduated from college. He's working up to 40 hours a week, and there may be an opportunity to apply for a full-time position with the city in the future. But the city has again confirmed that whether it receives a modification to the RAC startup programming grant will not make any, will not impact his performance evaluation or any hiring decisions. And we do have the clause remaining in the grant agreement that says that none of the grant funds may be used on to compensate anyone who's connected with the foundation through a family membership or through a family connection, which is considered a financial interest under your policy. And so, Executive Director Hanamiya, do you have any additional facts you'd like the board to know? No, I think you basically covered. Okay. And is there any questions that board members have of the Executive Director regarding her financial disclosure? Okay, well, then the next step is to ask Executive Director to leave the room in accordance with your adopted policy. And I will let you all know that I have advised that under the applicable public agency laws, there is not a conflict of interest with regard to the financial interest here. I've also reviewed the prior legal analysis performed by the foundation's nonprofit legal counsel, determining in a similar factual situation that there is not a conflict of interest under exempt entity or nonprofit agency laws. And I concluded that the same analysis applies here. And so I'm advising the board that from a legal perspective, there is no conflict of interest with regards to the executive director's financial interests and the proposed modifications to the RAC startup programming and outreach activities grant. And so that advice is something the board may consider as it now makes its own determination about whether a conflict of interest exists.
Thank you, Heather. Any questions from the board regarding this? Any questions from the public? Anything online, please?
I do not see any hands raised. Okay.
So,
Just confirming, if members of the public have any comments, go ahead and make them now, but I do not see the answer.
okay. The board has heard the facts and legal analysis from the foundation's lawyer, concluding that the proposed grant modification does not constitute a conflict of interest. May I have a motion determining that the proposed modification of the strategic grant to the city of San Bruno supporting startup programming and outreach activities at the RAC do not present a conflict of interest under nonprofit and exempt entity laws in accordance with the foundation's conflict of interest policy?
So moved. Second.
Who seconds? Sorry. Thank you, Justin. Okay. I will turn it over to Secretary Gomez for a roll call vote.
Thank you. Board Member Belinda Wong.
Aye.
Board Member Supriya Perry.
Aye.
Board Member Jessica Ngleema.
Aye.
Treasurer Pac Lynn.
Aye.
Secretary Raul Gomez is an aye. Vice President Jim Ruane is excused, and President Melissa Natani Jones.
Aye.
All ayes.
Thank you. Okay, you can return. Thank you. Now, may I have a motion to adopt the resolution modifying the strategic grant to the city of San Bruno supporting startup programming and outreach activities at the San Bruno Recreation and Aquatic Center?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, and I'll turn it over to Secretary Gomez for roll call vote. Thanks again.
Board Member Belinda Wong.
Aye.
Board Member Supriya Perry,
Aye.
Board Member Jessica Anglino,
Aye.
Treasurer Pat Lynn,
Aye.
Secretary Raul Gomez is an aye. Vice President Jim Rowing is excused, and President Melissa Natani Jones,
Aye.
all ayes.
Okay, okay,
Thank you.
maintain. Okay, item F, receive report of the downtown beautification initiative from the city of San Bruno. In March 2024, the board approved $350,000 grant to the city of San Bruno to support a series of projects to improve the visibility and appearance of San Bruno's downtown, including planter revitalization along San Mateo Avenue, the potential planting of trees on Jennerton Avenue, median landscape revitalization, and the creation of new street pole banners. This grant is structured so that the city will submit one grant report on all projects when all projects are completed, after which the foundation will disperse a single grant payment of up to $350,000. As a result of the foundation has not yet made any grant payments on this grant. I would like to invite Community Services Director Travis Carlin to the podium to give us an update on the downtown beautification project.
Thank you, President Natani Jones and members of the board. I'm here to do a update for you on the downtown beautification project. As you recall, in 2024, the San Bruno Community Foundation awarded us $350,000 toward the beautification of our downtown area. This project aligns with the foundation's community listening campaign priorities. It also aligns with Strategic Plan 2.0 and the City Council's fiscal year 2024-25 strategic initiatives. The city did complete one portion of the project already. You'll see that we have a new banner collection downtown. We've already had up 2 series of those banners, and the last series will be at the holidays, with the holiday series that we'll be putting up. The downtown beautification phase 2 is focused on revitalization of the planters and the medians. And the plant material that we're using is really going to complement what we've done already in the Centennial Plaza area. We'll be doing repairs to the irrigation system under the sidewalks with many unknowns. We'll also be introducing new plant palettes for aesthetics and low maintenance materials. And then we're looking to implement more trees downtown. So we're not only going to be looking at implementing trees on the Jennerton Avenue, but we're also going to be introducing some trees into some of the pots on San Mateo Avenue. So it'll add a little bit more drama to the avenue down there. One of the things that I found that would be of interest to the city as far as financials and projects that we have is that we've actually paired this project with the Posey improvements. So you might see contractors down there already that are working on the Posey fountain. We're trying to get that fountain back to working condition. It's going to have a whole new surface on it. We're going to be adding some tile to that fountain to add a little bit more dramatics to the actual areas where the water flows over. And so Dan's been working very closely with Waterworks on that part of the project. We're also going to be adding furniture to that park along with bike lockers and landscaping upgrades. And actually, the bike lockers have already been there. And the great news on that is we actually saved money because Caltrain put those up for us. And so we didn't have to spend any money on that. So that's great. We're also going to be looking at upgrading the artwork out there by doing repairs to the artwork that's already out on Posey Fountain. And then we are going to be introducing a new sculpture to a portion of the park. And we actually have a call to artists out right now for that. As you may have heard, we did a bidding process for this overall project. We did an RFP, which was issued in May of 2025. And we advertised that. We had one bid on that project in Marina Landscape that was awarded this bid. So the base bid for the project was $368,000. So we did have to go back to the city council and ask for more money for this project. We have brought on Lizzie Ham and Brett Miller, who is our project manager both on the Centennial Plaza project and then also the Florida Avenue project. He's fantastic to work with, and we're looking forward to working with him again. The fiscal impact for the total cost of the downtown beautification, and that's with not only the construction contract, but the contingency, the project management for that project is about $622,000. So almost double what we had asked the foundation for. And so we did take some money from the one-time revenue reserve to complete this project. And so, right now, where we're at with the project is we're going to be starting the project somewhere between, September fifteenth and September 22nd. Right now, they're doing their submittals on the project to get those all in, so we can work through those. But we are already working on communication with the business, community, because it is gonna make, some impacts to downtown. And we're hoping that they can live through this with us for the next 6 months, to have a more beautiful avenue, in the downtown. One thing I do want to mention is we still have the marquee sign, which was part of the package, on hold. Because we are analyzing the intersection that goes into downtown off of the El Camino, to determine if we are going to reconfigure that. And then, the marquee will likely be a next phase to the project. We're expecting that if everything goes well, we will be completed with this project sometime in March of 2026. So we have probably about 6 or 7 months ahead of us on this project. One thing that we are really working toward is getting the Cozy Park portion of this done first. And the reason for that is because we have grant funds to the county that are expiring at the end of the year. So we want to get that part done so we can collect on those funds to complete this project. So that's where we are at with the project, and I'm happy to answer any questions anybody might have.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the public?
No questions on one.
Okay. Any questions from the board or comments? Yes, Glenn.
So the project is gonna run over the holidays.
Correct.
Are you gonna be in, what mitigation measures are the businesses gonna need for that?
Sure. So a lot of the work that's gonna be done with the planters is gonna be very isolated, and it's gonna be planned ahead of time. So business owners are going to know when there's areas that are affected. And generally speaking, if an area in front of a business is affected, we're looking at probably about a week that it will be affected. So we'll be working with the individual business owners to make sure that they still have access to their shops and we're not closing their doors on them. So we'll definitely be working on that communication as we move forward.
The planters that you're going to actually have trees in, how many and what type of trees are you going to use?
Sure. So I might bring Dan up here because he's got a better grasp on this than I do.
Thank you for the question. It's probably less than half the planters will have trees in it. We thought about it diligently. We looked at areas where there were signage, potential hazards, blocking stop signs, and things like that. So we picked them appropriately to give some continuity of the street, some height to the buildings. And we selected 2 trees for it. One is gonna be crepe myrtle, which are lying on Linden behind Walgreens. Pretty small size, once it's full grown, maybe 20 feet tall, 15, 20 feet wide, and the other one is a dwarf magnolia, which are very slow growing. We knew going into this process that trees and planters have a lifespan. So we've already talked about that for not running into the same issue we ran into with the old pear trees that were in there. And have them look sad over the years. So these have all been thought about through the process, and I think we came up with a good plan for them. Again, it's not all the planters, but there needs something else down there for height. So that's what we came up with. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, unless there are any further comments from the board, that concludes this item. Thank you so much, Travis. The next 2 presentations are also yours, so you may remain at the podium. Item G, receive report on the Crestmore Fields project from the city of San Bruno. In December of 2024, the SBCF board approved a strategic grant to the city to support phase 1 of the Crestmore Fields project in an amount not to exceed $3,400,000 and requested that the city of San Bruno and the developer include permanent lights at the fields as an add alternate when preparing the bid documents for phase 1 construction contract, so that the board could later consider increasing the grant to cover the cost of the permanent lighting. A lot has happened on this exciting project for our community since the board approved the grant 9 months ago, and we are eager to hear an update, including details on when the city should have better cost information on the permanent lighting. Back to you.
Thank you, President Lena Tommy Jones and members of the board. So I have a brief update on this one. We've been working very diligently on the contract for Toll Brothers to build the fields. This is a approach that the city's not taken before, so we're being very diligent and making sure that we've crossed all our Ts and dotted all our Is on this project. So we've been working with the city attorney's office, both myself and the city engineer, Haywan, on this project. Where we're at with it is that we have the 30% designs, which gives us a good structure for the project and enough information to turn over to Toll Brothers to give us more accurate estimates on it. We have an engineer's estimate on everything, and it falls in line with what the budget that we established is. But now we've turned those, just as of last week, we turned the plans over to Toll Brothers to now take it from here as far as estimating that out. The engineer's estimates for lights came in at about $1.7 million. So we had told the board last year that it'd be about $2 million. So we were in line with what we had expected for the lights. And just so the public knows, the lights includes everything from design, all the infrastructure, everything involved with adding to the lights to the project. Our hope is that we should be able to bring back by no later than the November meeting, a better estimate on what the lights are going to cost so that the board can make an informed decision on if they're looking to support that. As people who may have kids in sports know, lighted fields are an added value to the community. A lot of times if communities build fields without the lights and then development happens, it's likely that the lights will never happen because the community members will fight against it. And one thing I also add for the community members that are listening is the light technology right now doesn't have a lot of spillover. The lights that we have in our parks are old technology and we are upgrading that to new technology, actually probably in the next few months. So that's one thing for people to keep in mind, that lighting is going to come a long ways and it doesn't have as much spillover as it used to have. So the next steps for us is we are meeting with Toll Brothers this Friday to basically go through our contract that we have developed with them to negotiate whatever we need to negotiate, in hopes that we'll be able to bring this forward to the city council either the last meeting in September or the first meeting in October to move forward with the project. So it is trucking along. We had a little bit of time where it was like going back and forth with the city attorney, but I think we're in good shape right now to present that.
Thank you. Any questions from the public?
No, we have numbers.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board?
So yeah, it sounds like, the fields are gonna have everything the soccer groups need, which is amazing. Does it also, have everything you would need to be able to host tournaments, things like that? Because I would think, that's something San Bruno doesn't seem to do a lot of, and it would bring additional revenue in.
Sure, so it does have one major, one large scale size field, but the other field spaces aren't as big. You could likely hold some smaller scale tournaments that would be, maybe just a few teams that are involved, or it spans over a weekend where teams can come in and out of. One thing that will be, that we're working through right now with the developer is some strategies for parking up there. They believe that they have some ideas to expand the parking there. So we'll likely hear more about that on Friday when we have our meeting with them.
Okay. Right there.
Any other questions, comments? Unless there are any further comments from the board, that concludes this item. Thanks so much again, Travis. And item H, receive report on Florida Avenue project from the city of San Bruno. The next report is one we've been waiting for a long time. In January 2016, one of the first grants the SBCF board approved was a $200,000 grant to the city of San Bruno to develop the city-owned lot at 324 Florida Avenue into a community park. This investment focused on bringing recreation and green space to a historically underserved neighborhood in San Bruno, one that has until now lacked its own neighborhood park, and thus fulfilling our mission of equity and inclusion. The project was delayed several times due to a variety of factors, including issues with the original construction documents, community concerns over the removal of trees on the property and funding needs. Last November, the city finally broke ground on the project. And last month, the park opened to the public with a well-attended grand opening and ribbon cutting ceremony. Dan Benzia, the city park services manager, is here to report on the parks project. Dan, congratulations, and we're excited to hear your update on this beautiful park in San Bruno.
So if I could, I just want to speak real quick on this part. I'm going to let Dan do this presentation. And the reason I want Dan to do this presentation is because when I came online here and I worked on Centennial Plaza, I was very embedded in that project and getting it done. And through that project, Dan and I worked very collaboratively and had a really good rapport with our project manager out there and got the project done. For this project, I decided that we're gonna get the project started and I'm gonna kind of step aside. So Dan was down there all the time, working on this project, talking with the project manager, facilitating questions from the public on this project, and really driving it forward. And I really kind of just stood back and watched Dan work on this. So I'm very proud of Dan and his accomplishments in this park. And I think that he can truly call it his own. And so I want to congratulate him on that, and I want him to come up and do the presentation tonight.
Yay.
Good evening, President Natani Jones and Community Foundation board members. My name is Dan Venezia. I am currently the Park Services Manager for the city of San Bruno. I've had different jobs here, that's why I'm at. So I'm happy to be here tonight to give you a little update and overview of the Park project, which those of you may have been aware of over many years. So the objective is just provide you a timeline of the project, the ups and the downs, and highlight significant steps during the process, from the property acquisition to the final price we have now. Basically, just gonna give an overview of what we just said a minute ago. So in 2014, the property was acquired, resolution through the city for approximately $600,000. Taking a minute to talk about this process in 2013 and 14, when I started with the city, and I was actually on the group of two of us who were in charge of taking that plywood off of the front door when community development wanted to go and take a look at it. So, as Travis said, I am very proud of this project and have been involved in it in one way or another through the entire process, so that makes it pretty cool. The process itself is on a parcel that includes 8 residential parcels originally, combined into one. Anybody who saw the property originally, it was a main house, duplex, garage, an outbuilding in the back, and a lot of overgrown plant material. And kind of freaky for most people who saw it over the years, was very close. So after the acquisition, site planning began. And the site planning was basically how to take this property and turn it into a park, right? So it took into account the demolition of the building, hazardous removal of materials, the soil remediation, site security, next slide, please. It also included the historic reusable features of television. Everybody's probably aware of the sculpture that's now in City Hall, was found in the back building, which was shocking when we found it. Really weird, but it was there. Pretty much looked like it does now. So remove that. The fence that was in the front was also removed, and a couple of items inside the house that they saw had some historical value. There was also asbestos and lead materials with the older house that were also in the property. The site planning phase cost approximately $260,000 and was funded through the CIP budget. Once the site planning was complete, that's when the remediation contract kicked in, and that was to do everything that was talked about in the site planning. Demolition of structures, removing the asbestos and material, removing soil from the site that was contaminated, and basically getting the site ready for a park. After remediation was complete, 2016, city staff joined with MIG to start doing community workshops to get the residents' ideas of what they wanted in their park, in their neighborhood. It was a great time. There was a lot of happiness that people could see the the vision and things were changing and things were happening. They wanted play areas, adult fitness, gathering spaces, a lawn, open space to hang out in. Some of their concerns were obviously traffic flow. We all live in San Bruno. We understand the narrowness of the streets, neighborhood parks, safety and park maintenance. After all these community gatherings, council approved to go ahead and do a master plan design with MIG. The key features that were taken away from those community events were, you know, a park entrance, which is where the hard seats are now. That was originally thought to be the front door of the park, even though there's multiple entrances, that's the focal point. Community grove was originally talked about, the play area, of course, and fitness equipment. At the time of this in 2016, it was believed that the cost for this entire project would be $775,000. Things change, times change. But this I have to touch on too, was also when, Community Foundation gave the $200,000 and $575,000 would come from our, I believe, the general. 2017, we went out to bid for the project originally. Start construction was awarded the contract. That's only $950,000 additional fees for construction management and some road improvements. But unfortunately, during the initial phase, meeting with the contractor through their submittals of everything they found wrong with the designs, it was decided to terminate that contract and return the project for design phase for revision. It was definitely an unfortunate time, but I do believe it's the right decision, even though it was not well received for the community. So during that time, also 2008, the city believed that through the redesign that the heritage trees on site, the Norfolk Island pine and the Theodore cedar, needed to be removed for hazardous reasons. This caused a little bit of conflict between some community members, and there was some litigation that took place. And through the litigation process, it was determined that the Norfolk Island pine would be removed. The Theodore cedar would remain, and in the place of the Norfolk Island pine, a specimen oak tree would be planted of a very specific size, 108-inch box of approximately 25 feet tall. So that was part of the litigation process had to happen. Put that information back to MIG. They revised the master plan in 2019 to keep all the key features that were already there in the original design, but rejigger the park to accommodate the Norfolk Island pine being removed and the new specimen tree being in its place. In 2020, City Council approved actually the project restart and for MIG to move forward with the new conceptual design to get it to the construction document phase. In 2020, I believe that this was an awesome little thing. The unsightliness of the fence and the property and the dust bowl, it was determined that we should take a little bit of money and just make it a patch of grass that the residents could use. In the big picture, it was a nominal fee to do that, but a huge win for the community. It was really cool, just a piece of grass, and they were out there at soccer practice, the little 5-year-old AYSO out there practicing, and people really loved it. A lot of people thought that was the park, but it wasn't the park. So we got a little win for a few years with that. While we were able to continue our funding effort, inflation, COVID, cost of things increased. So from 2020, 2023, we saw higher funding for the project, $2 million from developmental impact fees, and then $400,000 from the 2024-25 budget. So like we said already, in 2024, we went out to bid again. And Suarez Munoz Construction won that contract for approximately $1.4 million. Some contingencies, some project management fees, and some ongoing project fees from the designer. I'm sure all of you are aware, like Travis may have mentioned also, Suarez Nunez and Wesley Ham were the same contractor and project manager that did Centennial. Both projects turned out awesome, we had great success, so, project start date was in December, never. Never the best time of year to start. In December, but I understand the necessity of it. It was a couple of hiccups starting off with the rainy season and compaction when we were working on hardscape. We worked through it with the contractor. And by the time we got to March, we had a good set of the hardscape in, and then they really took off. It worked out really well. 200 working days was the original estimate for the project, which would have put us into October, I believe. So we, on August 14th, about 3 weeks ago now, or 3 weeks ago, we enjoyed a really successful ribbon cutting and opening ceremony. I believe some of you were there. I saw some folks there. Really a great night, really well attended. If you ever want to have a successful event, just have Mr. Softy come. They will come out. But in my years here, aside from the rack grand opening, this was probably one of the well-attended ribbon cuttings that we've seen. A lot of locals were there, a lot of people from the community. I think it's a really special thing and something we as an entire city and anybody who had a hand in it should be proud of. And you saw the, 12 years it took to get this park built. Every department within the city, I think, had a hand in this at some point. And it's just a really cool thing to hang your hat on. So I am very proud of it. I think everybody should be very proud of it. And hopefully it'll just be enjoyed for many more years. So thank you for letting me speak to you tonight, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Yeah.
Thank you, Dan. Are there any comments from the public?
Nobody else is on.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board?
Good job.
Yeah, great job. I'll just say, when I got to the ribbon cutting ceremony, I still saw you walking around in the. Yes. So I hope that you feel so proud of this project. We know it's been a long time coming. Almost every time we have a city report, there's always a line item about the Florida Avenue Park. And to be there that day, a lot of those people are from the neighborhood, which was so amazing. They were so happy. I actually have relatives that live right across the street who was like, we were waiting for this for forever. And so there's a lot of like happiness and joy, and people were already using it. Even when they saw that there was a ribbon cut, there was people like, so it's a really great project, and congratulations, you should feel so proud.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, unless there are any further comments from the board, that concludes this item. Thank you so much, Dan. I want to thank all of the presenters from the city this evening. We're grateful for the partnership on so many projects in the city. So thank you very, very much. Thanks, Travis. We're gonna move on to item I, receive report on other programs, and I will turn it over to Leslie.
Okay, we had a lot of reports, so I'm gonna keep this brief. Just a quick update on both the Community Grants Fund and the Customer Scholarship. Since our last board meeting, one of the highlights of the community grants was actually Circus Bella, doing its 2 performances in San Bruno City Park. They actually ended up collaborating with the city's recreation department to make it into almost like a festival in the park that day. There was face painting and food trucks and all that, which the city coordinated, and then Circus Bella came in with its circus to do its 2 performances. I think they estimated about 2,000 people showed up that day between the 2 performances. I was there for the first performance, and it was packed, and it was great to see people of all ages, a lot of families with little kids, but also high school age people and older folks as well. So that we funded with a $15,000 grant, and I think was a huge win for the city. Right outside there. As you know, the board has decided to wind down the Crestmore, the Community Grants Fund. For this next year, we posted that on our website, and put it out in some of our email blasts. But we are still getting calls about when the application process will open, so I've been fielding a lot of those calls. With regard to the Crestmore Scholarship, which also won't be offered this year, I'm in the process of distributing scholarship payments. We're close to being done with distributing this year's set of payments. There's still 3 scholars from 2022 and 2023 that are eligible for funding that I haven't heard from. And I've been trying to track down, but hopefully they will get a hold of us soon. There's also 4 scholars that along the way have, stopped out from school, taken a break. And we try to be very flexible with them in terms of sort of letting them put their scholarship on hold. And then restarting it once they do go back to college. But we have, because we are in the wind down phase, and because some of these, actually, it's been several years now that we really haven't heard much from them. I did give notice to say we are winding down. If we don't hear from you, we're going to assume that you have completed your scholarship and we will write it off yours. 2 of them have reached out to us, so I'm in conversation with them about what their plans are. The other 2 we have not heard from for more than a year. So we're gonna assume that they have included their scholarships. So that's where we are with those. We do still have a number of years of scholarship payments due out. And we do have this last round of community grants. We'll need to collect all the reports in early 2026. So there's still work that's being done on those that I'm handling completely now, but Jessica, is no longer with us.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the public?
No, hands raised on it.
Any questions or comments from the board? No. Okay, unless there are any further comments from the board, that concludes the report on other programs. Thank you so much, Leslie. Moving on to item J, report from Ad Hoc Committee on Strategic Planning regarding potential legacy projects, and provide any board comments on potential next steps. As chair of the Ad Hoc Committee on Strategic Planning, I will give a brief update. As you know, in May, the board approved a shift in strategy to spend down the bulk of the foundation's remaining total net assets in the next several years on a small number of large legacy projects and wind down all other programs. The board identified a new fire station number 52 as the foundation's top choice for the legacy project to receive most of the total net assets earmarked for legacy projects, and as part of the strategy decisions, the board directed the ad hoc committee to review the foundation's program strategy framework and recommend any needed updates to reflect the above changes in strategy. Over the summer, the committee has been working on 3 directives from the board. First, the committee reviewed the program strategy framework and concluded that the board's recent strategy decisions do not warrant any changes to the document, as the board's decision to focus on a few remaining legacy projects, including fire station number 52, fall within the framework's current parameters. Although the framework allows for responsive grant-making programs such as the Community Grants Fund and foundation-run programs like Crestmore Scholarship, the document does not require the foundation run such programs, so the board's decision to discontinue the Community Grants Program and Crestmore Scholarship does not necessitate any changes to the program category section of the framework. Second, the committee has been monitoring the city's progress on the fire station project. The San Bruno City Council agreed to have a foundation serve as a funding partner on the fire station number 52 project, and the city is moving forward on the project. The first step is acquisition of the property at the corner of San Bruno Avenue and Skyline Boulevard. That is the city's top choice for the location of the new fire station. The city is in discussions with Caltrans, which owns the land on site issues. Third, the committee has been considering other options for final legacy projects of the board to consider. We are monitoring the city's progress on the Crestmore Fields project and waiting for further information from the city on the cost of installing permanent lighting on the soccer fields, as the board has expressed interest in considering additional grant funding for the lighting. We also met with Superintendent Matt Duffy and San Bruno Education Foundation President Heather Lotta about the district's strategic initiatives and potential opportunities for the foundation to make a large final legacy project investment benefiting the district. The committee is in the process of researching and evaluating these potential legacy project ideas. As the committee's review of these potential legacy projects progress, we will be reporting back to the board with recommendations on next steps. That's my reading. Any comments from the public?
No hands raised online. Okay.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Yeah, since I'm newer to the board, since you all had some of these discussions, I thought I'd share some of my preferences and, make that known to you all as well. I think I'm very much in favor of the lighting, as you all have discussed. I think that makes those fields so much more usable with the smaller space, to be able to extend the day, and the school projects, of course. One other thing I was curious for us to explore is finding some way to continue the Crestmore Scholarship, just because it's such a legacy for San Bruno, and it carries on the name. I know we don't want the overhead of running it ourselves long term, but if there were to be funds available, could we look at an organization to endow that scholarship and maybe run it on our behalf so we can continue to honor the Crestmore residents and keep that name alive? I know funds are limited, but I wanted to mention.
Yeah. I thank you for that. Certainly appreciate your thoughtfulness around the Crestmore Scholarship. And I think that that's also something that we've heard other community members express around their interest in that. And I think that the legacy projects are the priority at the time, right now, the lights, the fire station, and of course, if there is a balance left, that we should definitely consider what to do with those funds. And also sort of research what that might look like in terms of an endowment and what, not just who can manage it, but what entity in San Bruno would also facilitate it, right? So I think that that's also been part of the discussion. And so certainly the ad hoc committee can look into like exploring that more. I just know that right now that our priority is around those two legacy projects. But certainly if there is money at the end of it and there's still something left that we should definitely consider what to do with it, and I think that that is something that we can consider. And I think that there's a lot more, it's a lot more nuanced, right, than just being able to find somebody to endow it and then also manage and facilitate that whole process. So I think that that's definitely a bigger lift, but we should definitely think about how that could be facilitated.
Yeah, appreciate the committee keeping it on the radar
Sure.
first, and we can keep discussing as the months go on.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions about that? No, okay. If the board would like to provide any additional guidance to the committee, certainly that was one of them, maybe would, this would be the time to do so if there were any other thoughts about that. If not, then that concludes this committee's report. And I will move to item number 9, board member comments. Would any board members like to make a comment at this time? Okay. Great. Unless there are any further comments of the board, that concludes this agenda item. I will move to 10. We have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, sorry. It's okay. I was like, oh, no. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great, we're gonna have the roll. We are adjourned. Our next regular meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, October 1st at 7 p.m. In accordance with the resolution of the board approved earlier this evening as part of the consent calendar, the location of our board meetings going forward is this room, the community room at the RAC. There is a chance that the October meeting may be canceled if we have no pressing business to attend to, and we'll keep you all updated on. Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody.